Okay, this is chapter 8. And again, I'll say that it's part 3 of the book, which is the organizational management type of section, how things work. This one is on organization. So let's think about something. How would you organize your business? What do you need? What people? If you had to put that on paper, which you will have to do, how would you organize that? Who does what? Job specialization is an important thing. Job specialization is this guy's good at that, maybe not so good at that. You don't take someone untrained for a job that needs training. You don't put a person who's not very good with people in charge of dealing with people, and so on. So think about your function or the company that you're putting together and how that would be organized. Here are some of the ways that things are organized is division of labor, who does what. If you ever see people doing the same thing, overlapping, and it's a waste of time and they get frustrated, that happens. I talked about specialization. Departments, this chapter has lots of good graphics on departmentalization and org charts and things like that. Interesting, the first thing that people hate is change. People don't like change, and it's one of those things that's hard to get around when people are working. But the world is changing. What is that? The saying goes, the only constant in life is change. So this kind of tells you that just 10 years pass, and a lot of things changed. Number of books published I thought was interesting. Number of letters mailed, a little bit less. Still 175 billion letters, so we still need that. That is obese Americans. So organizational design is a study, is a business department of study, which talks about hierarchy and chain of command and the chart and all that stuff. First part of this chapter speaks to some of the management theories, but I'm thinking that those are old-fashioned. Glance over those. Those are of the old. What we're really talking about is kind of living in the new. Talked about last chapter, org chart, pyramid structure. Here's the old-fashioned pyramid structure. You got guy in production, guy in marketing, guy in finance. This is probably a good way to start. Businesses grow and get really complicated. And think, for example, what if you had a structure like this and you had 2,000 grocery stores? Your structure here would start spreading across the room and go down, and it would be massive. It would be constant. Who's doing what? Think about King Soopers Grocery. Who's in charge of poultry? Who's in charge of fresh produce, and who's in charge of the cereal aisle and the cereal box and the ordering and the processing and the delivering and everything like that? It's a monster. A lot of companies need this kind of organizational structure. Well, how would a typical grocery chain work if you didn't have some kind of structure? So it's a good way to start. It's a good way to look at how we might compare other more modernized organizational structures. There's disadvantages of centralized and decentralized. Centralized means the top says what goes down. Decentralized is more department and bottom up. Talk more about that later in the chapter. Where does it always have to be the top says what goes down and the bottom and the middle managers disseminate that on to lower and lower and lower? Not necessarily, and that's what we're talking about here. That's what we've learned here. Once again, flat organizational structure. Manager has all these people, you put your divisions underneath that. That's the typical traditional organizational structure. So what we want to do is we broaden that organizational structure, make it more efficient. You broaden that by it helps you be responsive to customers and make decisions quickly. And got a lot of people saying to a lot of different divisions, again, take the micro division inside a bigger division of, say, a convenience store chain or something like that. Who handles the refrigerators at 7-Eleven? Is that part of the main chain of command, or can you set up a division and have broad control? So interesting way to look at this kind of stuff. This is managing by product. Oops, let me go back. This is managing the function by product. I'm moving that over. So you have a manager, and you might say, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We sell books, and we sell online resources, we sell maps, something like that. You can divide it up that way. Number 2 of 5, you could say by function, who does what. This is pretty typical. You have somebody that's all in charge of production, and they just worry about making the stuff. You have somebody who's marketing, they sell the stuff. Obviously, over time, these silos need to start communicating to each other. Obviously, marketing and production can't exist separately. They call those silos. Don't be in a silo. Marketing has to know what they're producing in production to be able to sell it, and vice versa. Here you can organize yourself by customer group. So who's in charge of these guys? Again, if you're buying, let's say it's called a boat dealership. You got somebody on parts, you got somebody on sailboats, you got somebody on jet skis, you got somebody on water ski boats. That's one way to do it. Commercial users is a good one. B2B, B2C. You can divide it that way. You can divide it among manufacturers. So that's the customer group. Geographic location. As businesses become more globalized, you're going to have somebody that handles just one division of a geographic area. So it's pretty simple to see. You can do management by process, and that would be suitable for, obviously, here, a cut and sew factory where this is more processes, production, like Henry Ford's Model T production line, but that still exists today. And it's better to manage certain production things that way. I worked with a screen printer and embroidery shop where you had this kind of division, and it ran very smoothly because you have departments that handle certain production. The last one we talk about is called a matrix, and one way to think about that is matrix is a grid where you have one process going across one way and another process going across another way. So you have somebody that's in manufacturing, and they just take one project and manufacture that and hand it off to the next. So they would hand that off to the marketing people. The marketing people hand that off. There might be another product come through, this one or this one, that manufacturing would manufacture, hand off to marketing, finance, etc. Think about a book publisher. A book publisher is going to have a guy that works with people that are writing the book, editors. You have a guy that has to design the cover, get the barcodes and the blurb and pricing and all that stuff, and a nice graphic image and a different cover. You got people who have to market the book. So those are completely separate departments, but you can take 20 books, 100 books a year, and just do editing. And that's what the matrix organizational structure. 20 books a year, you're just selling. As they come out of this one, you're just selling the books for marketing, or you're just designing or something like that. Last one here is, again, we take the old traditional upper management, middle management, lower, lower, lower. And the new ways of looking at things are to put customers or frontline workers more in charge. And there's modern, well-organized companies that are doing things like that, where they're saying, okay, what do the people want? What do the workers want? Put them in charge, and we support that. And the management is there to support everything else that goes on from upwards. So that's a good synopsis of Chapter 8 and organizational structures in the modern world. That's really what we're looking at. I'm not thinking about the past, we're thinking about the future, and the future of how management works. And we've worked many years of tweaking and gaining more and more efficiencies in the workforce, and this is now what it looks like. So thank you very much. That's Chapter 8.